Thank you, spokesperson for the DF, the Honorable Kasibante Moses. The leaders of the DF introduced it earlier. The membership across these two tents, and to our friends from the Fourth Estate. I initially like to apologize to you for delaying you inordinately. It was not intentional. We were trying to sort out something small, but also wait for some of the leaders that were traveling from up country to arrive here. I would like to welcome you to our... No, you make it dirty. So leave it. The Honorable Kasibante thinks he's a traditional healer. I don't know why he's electing to. The last time we addressed the nation here, we were particularly addressing matters relating to elections, ongoing and behind us. And the DF raised many issues, and we're here to make a recap, especially now that part of the process has been partly completed. The DF congratulates Ugandans, especially the candidates and voters who participated in the recently concluded presidential and parliamentary elections, an exercise of their constitutional rights and civic responsibilities. The exercise, the first of the long haul, was conducted on the 15th of this month, and we're here to make a recap. The DF, however, takes exception and is gravely concerned, and hereunder raises issues of irresponsibility on the part of the Electoral Commission, bordering on the conduct of the recently concluded process. One such concern that borders on criminality on the part of the EC relates to failure of the biometric voter verification kits. And we are putting the failure in quotes as DF. Failure in quotes of the biometric voter verification kits. DF is particularly concerned on the widespread failure of the machines in the just concluded presidential and parliamentary elections. The malfunctioning of the kits rendered the entire electoral process incredible and unverifiable. For a process that cost the taxpayer over 150 billion shillings to dismally fail on deployment, the following questions now emerge. 1. Whether the machines were transparently and legally procured by the Electoral Commission. And that, to add, the manner of selection of the supplier in effect. 3. Conduct of due diligence on both technology and the supplier. 4. Availability of a technical evaluation report prior to procurement. 5. Time for training and testing of the new technology. And 6. The credibility of the simulation efforts, if any. And 7. Availability of sufficient backup plan of these kits. And 8. Value for money. The failure of the biometric kits led to delays in many areas, up to 5 to 7 hours. Voting that was lawfully scheduled to start at 7 a.m. in many places began after 11 o'clock in many places. And on the part of the EC, instead of compensating for the lost time proportionately, the EC only extended the voting period by 1 hour, thereby disenfranchising millions of voters countrywide. It is this state that accounts for low voter turnout, estimated at around 30%. You saw the EC saying it's about 52%. That is hogwash. We all were there. We know no 50% turned up anywhere in the country. The situation was compounded by the late arrival of voting materials in many voting areas, which seemed deliberate. When the biometric system failed, the EC authorized the use of manual authentication of voters, with the clumsy reasoning that it was necessary to override the law in order to allow Ugandans exercise their constitutional right to choose their leaders. How lousy. DF is concerned that contrary to the use of the biometric technology as the panacea to fraud and multiple voting, in many parts of the country, the decision to resort to use of manual verification was fraudulently exploited, resulting into multiple voting and ballot stuffing in many parts of the country. The legal basis for use of biometric voting outlaws manual voting automatically, providing that no one who is not biometrically verified should be allowed to vote. More still, that where the electronic system fails, elections at that polling station must not go on. That is the law. Notwithstanding all excuses by the Electoral Commission for the biometric mess, the DF has come to the conclusion that the Electoral Commission had not prepared enough to adapt to new technology, and worse still, the care had no backup plan. But like we said in the preamble, we contend that actually they were deliberately doing this to make the whole process messy and facilitate multiple voting and ballot stuffing. The EC did not comply with the law, and thus the recently concluded presidential and parliamentary elections was conducted outside the law. The DF observes that the biometric voter verification kits worked smoothly and effectively in selected regions and constituencies. You noted that in some constituencies, all machines were working, but failed dismally in targeted constituencies, resulting into fraud, voter suppression, disenfranchisement, and other election malpractices. That said, the DF hereby informs the country that we categorically reject the outcome of the entire presidential and parliamentary election process, and we are consulting on steps to take aimed at challenging processes and outcomes variously. You remember, citizens, that the DF has been at the forefront. We forewarned the country a priori, the elections, that we do not believe that the Electoral Commission had prepared enough to use these machines. Remember, my last address here at the DF headquarters was particularly on those machines. And we're not here to say that it's a deja vu. We're just saying that citizens should learn to listen. And political actors should stop grandstanding, and they should learn to listen and cooperate. And now we know that actually the machines were not intended to facilitate an election, but as a facade to blur wide-ranging electoral fraud, as we saw it in various parts of the country. And therefore, as the DF, we cannot associate with an outcome blurred and littered all over with fraud and malpractice. Remember, we talked about ill preparation, lack of training, lack of stimulation. You can retrieve our last presser. These are the issues. You must have moved with your cameras at polling stations, with the top officials fidgeting with the gadgets, and in many places, indeed the EC deployed and trained polling officials, essentially because they had intended to make the entire process messy to benefit and get particular outcomes. That is addressed on the machines. Secondly, the false declaration of results by presiding officers as a very serious electoral matter we established. DF is concerned by the rampant false declarations of election results by presiding officers in many constituencies nationwide. In the instance, authentic declaration of result forms were shortchanged in many places to include Masaka, Gulu, Soroti, Kampala, Mukono, Jinja, to mention but a few, with losers being declared as winners. It's now common practice that presiding officers falsify results and courageously announce losers, and then scornfully advise winning candidates to agree by such fraudulent action to go to court. I am sure you've captured many such courageous presiding officers, returning officers, telling winners to go to court and announcing losers with courage and straight faces. This has to be stopped. And we invite the next parliament, if it will have to any effect on elections, to take this as a major reform matter and enact a law to criminalize false declaration of results by presiding officers. Because apparently, because they have gotten away with so many of such actions, they seem to have made it an art of sorts now, that you can freely declare a loser as a winner. After all, nothing will happen to you. As the DF, a party that believes firmly in a wide-ranging constitutional and electoral reforms, this is a major reform issue that must happen if Ugandans will continue having trust in electoral processes going forward. 3, man of declaration of presidential election results. DF is concerned by the manner of declaration of presidential elections results, which leaves no room for verification. The country must adopt a process where agents of presidential candidates should verify the authenticity of DR forms at the EC National Tally Center before declaration, which is not the case today. The presidential election results, therefore, announced by the EC in the present circumstances cannot be verifiable and are prone to falsification. This urgently calls for fundamental reform. But you remember, the DF offered a solution in our reform document that presidential election results should be declared at a district level to avoid transmitted fraud as results move from one area to another. And I hope those who desire to see Uganda change for the better will learn to listen. Because when you offered these solutions, we were scorned, shockingly, by parties in opposition. And I have seen one of them say, we want the EC to upload all DR forms. It's nonsense. Because even if they upload it today, they have already falsified them. We offered a very simple solution that lies in informing the law on the presidential elections. So we insist as the DF that that's a matter we're not going to let lying. We're going to pick it up from where we left it. And now that we have many victims, we hope that we'll have people to listen going forward. For involvement of the military and security agencies. The DF decries the blatant involvement of the military and security agencies in the election process. And we have said before, this is contrary to the law. There were several polling stations positioned inside military installations, the police and prisons. For instance, in Entebbe municipality, those who followed, several polling stations were located inside the army and police barracks. In Masaka City, the same thing. 2 polling stations were positioned inside the Masaka police barracks. And in Luzira, in Akawa East, 4 polling stations were positioned inside the Luzira maximum prison. Polling agents and other voters were denied access to these installations, rendering the process really incredible. By law, the role of the presiding officer and peace, the role of preserving order and peace during elections is that of the police. Uganda must join the League of Civilized Nations, where elections are civil processes requiring no military intervention. The UPDF constitutional role is to ensure security of Ugandans and their property by ensuring Ugandan borders, by securing Ugandan borders and from foreign aggression and threats. Elections per se are not an external security threat, and therefore it is imperative that the UPDF remains neutral rather than a partisan actor in Uganda's political process. On polling day, I'll give you an example. In Luzira, voting started, I think, probably around 5 a.m. And by the time the agents of our candidates arrived in Luzira on the gate, the boxes were all full. The 4 boxes at Luzira. And they were inside. And there was no access. This is what happened. I personally called the commissioner in charge of Kampala, Dr. Simba, and raised this matter with him. And he said he has extended the matter to the returning officer of Kampala, the one Mr. Kasasha, I think. Kasacha Rashid. And he said, Kasasha said he has failed and referred the matter back to Dr. Simba. So I called back Dr. Simba. He cannot deny this. Dr. Simba told me that I should extend the matter to the chairperson, Justice Byabakama, that he has also failed. So I called Justice Byabakama. Luckily he picked. He said he has referred the matter to Dr. Simba. Now, yeah, so what are we talking about? So that is part of what happened. You can ask them when you meet them at the presser whether I called them about Luzira, and they said they had no solution. So effectively, the EC had sanctioned fraud in Nakawa East. That happened in the Masaka. Dr. Abed can give you a long testimony of what happened. In Entebbe, the Honorable Kakembo called me around 11 o'clock and said, what's going here is just drama. I just want free meat for future use. Probably my children will see a film of what was supposed to be an election. And said, there's nothing I can do. The military is voting in rounds. They have made a circle, they vote, come back, vote, and go. So that's the kind of nonsense, you know. So the UPDF, its rank and file, must reflect on their historical role as the people's army. The day the people will imagine them as their enemy, they will certainly not be the UPDF anymore. And these are the kind of processes upon which they must reflect on their historical mission. If their historical mission is to sustain an agenda that disenfranchises the citizenry, then certainly they are not for the people. And they must reflect. 5, syndicated and deliberate ballot staffing and multiple voting, favoring NRM and NUP candidates against DF candidates. The DF has taken note of very deliberate and syndicated acts of a cabal of actors who took advantage of the failure of the biometric voter verification kits to execute a syndicated plan of fraud involving multiple voting and ballot stuffing. This greatly affected and disadvantaged our candidates in parts of Masaka, Dokolo, Ngora, Gulu, Padel, Wakiso, and Kampala, where both opinion and exit polls indicated DF wins. And I want to tell you, go and verify what happened in Ngora district for the woman MP seat. What happened in Dokoro North? What happened in Aru North, in Padel district? What happened in Agago East? You'll verify, you'll find out. I'll give you an example. Go and find out the voting machinery in the buses that spent days in Masaka and began voting in rounds from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. and the voting patterns and what happened. So as the DF, we took note, and as we continue to verify and authenticate the actors, we will be communicating with the country. As the DF, it is wistful and far-fetched that anyone can stop the party of hope and promise from going the journey we intend to go. And we are here to assert that we are still on our journey and nobody is going to stop us. We are intentional in our actions, we are deliberate, and we are going to stick to our mission. One may delay, but it cannot deter the forward march of Ugandans to freedom, democracy, and liberation. Finally, a call for reforms, transition, and reconciliation. This is the flagship act of the DF. The DF finally reiterates and reaffirms stand focus to an agenda for reform, transition, and national reconciliation, and remains committed to a process of dialogue with all national stakeholders in pursuit of the said and published agenda. We have luckily published this agenda. It's not a secret. It's not convoluted. We believe acts of merely participating in elections for election's sake can never propel this country to the next level. We have gone back to our text, which we shared it all and sundry, that the country must, as of necessity for its own survival, because must elections be carried out in the manner they are being conducted, suddenly it puts the nation into a kind of existential threat as a state, as a nation state, with a predictable democracy agenda that the DF wants to offer leadership. Where other parties are timid to reach out, the DF has no such cowardice. We are available to speak to those who want to speak on the language of reform, to change the trajectory of this country, because this country belongs to us, but most importantly, we want to speak to posterity, not simply daily bread. There is today, there is tomorrow, and there is the future, which future belongs to everybody, including our great-grandchildren ahead of us. I want to thank you once again, the media, and I pray this time around you are less breezed than it were. Don't take that as uhuru. It's not yet uhuru. It is actually the calm before the storm. Your participation and involvement in making these issues serious issues, not issues to scorn and imagine that those who are raising them out of anger. None of us here is angry, but we are very concerned stakeholders in this country. And then you wonder, that's why Africans actually are spoken about in derogatory terms. That you go to procure machinery that cannot work in this era and time. That for 5 years you prepare to use a machine one day and it collapses on the day you're supposed to use it, and you stay in the office? That's why Africans are looked at as really very funny, you know, Homo sapien, you know. So where is criminal liability to those who participated in the expenditure of more than 150 billion Ugandan shillings for pure air? I want to thank you, the media, for this precious time. And on behalf of the DF, we are thankful for the time we have worked with you. We will continue working with you. Our agenda as the DF remains on track. The election was mere an event on our journey, and we shall continue propelling this journey. And I want to invite the membership of the DF, including those who intend to join the DF, that the DF was not founded for the purpose of an electoral event, but for a purpose of being an integral part of democratizing Uganda and calling out everybody to get involved in ensuring that Uganda makes the next big step to being a constitutional and enduring democracy for God and my country. That is better.
Let's first get the question.
What is the preference of the media? A brief Uganda version or questions? Taken. Thank you. Twagala okubebaza okujja kitebe kyaffe nga DF. Tuzze wano okulisaayo bannayuganda abyetabye mu kalulu era abakyetaba mu kalulu n'okubategeeza nti gakyali mabaga. Tuyozaayoza abeewaddeyo ne beesimbawo mu bifo eby'enjawulo, abawangudde nga bawangudde mu butereevu tubakulisa. Tetulina bigambo byozaayoza abo abadde mu kkobaane eby'okufuna akalulu ak'amankwetu. Ebyabaddewo twagala kubyogerako mu nnyingo nga 5 ng'ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi. Ekisooka, twagala ng'ekibiina okutuusa okwennyamira kwaffe eri bannaffe abasooka ebyokulonda abategeeza eggwanga nti akalulu kajja kukubibwa nga tweyambisa obuuma obwo bwa kompyuta. Naye mujjukira nti twasembayo okubeera wano ffe ng'ekibiina, era eyo ensonga gye twaliko yokka, nga tutegeeza eggwanga nti kirungi nnyo okukozesa bumashiini obwo okukakasa abalonzi, naye ekyokusaalirwa twali tulowooza mu budde obwo era nga kikyabadde kituufu nti akakiiko tekakoze kimala era tekakola kimala nga kagula obuuma obwo okusobola okutegeera nti kaguze obuuma obutuufu. Ekyokubiri, okukola ekimala okutendeka abanaabukozesa. Ekyokusatu, okulaba nti abakwatibwako ng'ebibiina by'obufuzi, ebibiina by'obwannakyewa ne bannayuganda abalala n'abamawulire bategeerera ddala enkola biki ebirimu, bakagenda kukola ki. Buli lunaku bayisangayo ekiwandiiko ekijjula kye baasoose oba ekitabulira ddala kye baasoose okuyisa ku buuma buno. Era situwewuunyiza ng'obuuma obwo bulijjo buli mu kufumba buugi. Kyokka ebuuyi eno mu DF waliwo era abalina endowooza nti obuuma tebadde na mutawaana n'eri abadde kkobaane. Kibadde kigenderere okubulangirira nti bufu, naye ababukozesa nga balamu nga n'emitwe gikola. Era nga babujja mu sitoowa nga bukola, ne babutuusa gye bulina okukolera nga tebukola. Gy'oli nti babutwala babuvuga googolo bwafiira mu kkubo. Kakati eri tulowooza nti kkobaane ekyokusaalirwa munnayuganda nga bulijjo yasaasaanya obuwumbi obusukka 150 okugula bukatuuni obwo. Kyokka abaabugula tulinze ekinabakolebwako okwonoona ensimbi y'omusolo ne basigala nga bakunnumba ng'eyasize entamu. Ng'ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi twalaba ne bannaffe baatuwa lipooti nti mu bitundu bingi eby'eggwanga ebikozesebwa byatuuka leeti okusaawa 5 awala 7. Nange zenyini mu kibuga ky'enkulembere kya Masaka mu polling station eziwerako okulonda kwatandika ku ssaawa 8. Mu polling stations ezimu bateekayo ebikozesebwa naye nga tewali babikozesa, ababikozesa ne bajja ssaawa 7 nga bibiri awo. Abali bazze okulonda bakeera ku ssaawa 12 atandika okulonda ku ssaawa 1 ne bakoowa ne bagenda. Era tuli bamativu ng'ekibiina nti n'ekyo kyali kigenderere okulaba nti abantu abalina okutuukiza obuvunaanyizibwa bwabwe baggwamu amaanyi ne badda ewaka, abalina ebyokukola, abalina abalwadde, abalina obuvunaanyizibwa obw'enjawulo ne bagenda nga tebalonze. Ekyokusaalirwa bannaffe abakikuka ebyokulonda bwe bamanya nti okulonda kuludde mu bifo bingi kusaawa 6 n'7 n'okweyongerayo, bo bayongerayo essaawa 1. Mu kwongerayo essaawa 1 nga bamaze dde okulangirira akavuyo, ewamu balondesa buuma, awala balondera ku register. Register tugimanyi bulungi nnyo ebbanga lyonna gye tugikozesezza eyo ey'ekipapula nti yeerera gwe mukeeka ogulera akavuyo k'okulonda. Era situwewuunya nga omukeeka ogwo bagujje nga guliko ne piro ne bagukozesa bulungi nnyo okukola emivuyo egya buli kika. Ewaffe mu kibuga Masaka twalaba abantu abalonda emirundi emingi nga beetoola bwe badda bava wano bwe badda ewalala. Kyokka ebyokulonda kamativu nti kalina kikakola. Ensonga ezo twetolodde ffenna ne tumatira bamativu ng'ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi. Siwali nsonga lwaki twetaba mu kukkiriza ebyaliwo mu kalulu ako. Era twagala okutegeeza eggwanga nti ebyo byaliwo tubitwalanga byali byakusaaga mu busaazi, abaabikola n'engeri gye baabikolamu tetubikkiriza. Bwe baba nga balina bye baabikolera okufunamu tubaagaliza olugendo olulungi, naye ng'ekibiina tubiganye nti tebyali bituufu, byakolerebwa wabweru w'amateeka agayisibwa agakkanyizibwako naye n'amagezi amazaale. Ensonga ey'okubiri ekwata ku bannaffe abakwasibwa okulonda mu disitulikiti ez'enjawulo n'ebibuga eby'enjawulo bebayita presiding officers oba returning officers abagufudde omulimu gwabwe okulangirira abagudde ne bawerekereza abawangudde nti bagende mu kooti. Ekyokusaalirwa bazze bakikola emirundi mingi, tukirabye mu bitundu bingi, tufuna lipoota okuva mu bifo bingi mu disitulikiti nyingi n'ewaffe Masaka, Eggulu, Epadel, Ngora, Alebutong, Dokolo n'ebifo ebirala, Jinja, Entebbe, gye baalangirira nga nigwe balangirire ne yeekanga bwekanze ng'egye bamulangiriddemu, era nga naye akakasa ntafunanko kalulu ne bamulangiridde. Ekyokusaalirwa etteeka si ddambulukufu bulungi mu kuba nga lisobozesa okusa ku nninga omuntu akoze ekintu bwe kityo, likitwalanga eyabadde mistake, naye ng'ogamba nti mistake ate ng'omaze okumala budde bungi ng'ogenze mu kooti. Twagala kusaba Parliament bwe banga ekyalimu ekinyusi, eno emu ku nsonga gy'ebanga egenda kukwata nga nkulu nnyo okulaba nti wabeerawo ennongoosereza, gubeere musango gwa naggomola. Oli akulidde ebyokulonda okulangirira omuntu mu kinyumu ate bwawerekereza ebigambo oyo gwe babbye nti agende mu kooti. Twagala ono abirangiridde abaasimbibwa mu kaguli ka kooti. Ensonga endala ekwata ku kulangirira kalulu ka president. Twajogerako dda nga DF nti akalulu ka president kalangirirwa mu Mancholo, ne tuwaana ebyokukola, ne tukukolayo n'ebbago ly'etteeka okulaga eggwanga ekyo kyandibadde kikolebwa nti empapula ezirangira president okuva ku polling station mu ggwanga lyonna tewali asobola kakasa nti zizo zitambula ne zimeera amagulu, endala ne zimeera ebiwawaatiro ne zibuuka, endala ne zifuna whitewash. Tukkiriza kye twawako amagezi gakaluka president wekalonderwa ku level oba ya Gombolo oba ya district ekabakalangirirwa era nga bakalangirwa kabereka nkomeredde ku ssaawa eno ne bwogamba byabakama nti ebyalangiridde abiwanike ku mitimbagano agenda obbisaayo ng'amaze okubibalansinga n'omuvuyo gwe yakoze ne banne tekiyamba omubeera muli mu kunywa ssuumwa lya mugenzi so si bujjanjaba mulwadde. Ensonga endala ensonga y'abannamagye mu byokulonda amagye g'eggwanga gadde galina ekitiibwa naye gajja gakenenuka era ekimu gakenenula n'ogajja mu langi yago entuufu bwe bululu buno. Tuwadde amagezi bannamagye abanyumirwa ebyobufuzi ebyakyekubiira okujja mu yunifoomu y'eggwanga balina eddembe okuyiga ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi ne beetaba butereevu mu kalulu ne bagira n'omuntu gwe baagala. Naye amagye okukozesa yunifoomu y'eggwanga n'ebyokulwanyisa by'eggwanga okukijjanya bannansi abaagala okwesalirawo mu kalulu kya kibogwe kya bubisi kya butaliimu era ekyo kyekirivaako okuzza eggwanga lino mu ntata. Abakikulemberamu bajja kuvunaanyizibwa kyenkanyi kuzza eggwanga lino mu ntata. Ebintu ebyabadde mu bifo ebirimu amagye ng'Entebe ng'Enakawa ku Luzirwa prison ng'Emasaka ku police barracks n'ebifo ebirala twabirabye ng'ekibiina twafunye ripooti ku byo tulowooza nti kyakusalirwa kyamaanyi nnyo era yekimu ku bitweetedde okugamba nti akalulu ako kabadde kakimpatiira. Omulimu gw'ekibiina gw'amagye gwa kukuuma bannayuganda n'ensalo zaabwe obutalumbibwa bantu bakyamu. Ku polling stations wetulondera abakulembeze baffe nga bannayuganda muntu mukyamu kyo yazze okuba aze okulumba poliisi gwetasobola kukolako ng'evunaanyizibwa mu mateeka okulabirira n'okukuuma abantu nga balonda. Tulowooza nti ekyo kikimu by'okulowoozaako abaagala enkyukakyuka n'abo abaagala embeera eriwo esigalewo naye nga baagala Uganda kyekintu ekyokwebulirako kyetulowooza nti tukkiriza kya bumenyi bw'amateeka era tukivumirira. Ensonga eddiira esembayo y'ensonga ly'ekkobaane lye twagoberedde mu constituency ez'enjawulo mu ggwanga lyonna okulaba nti bakandidati ba DF tebayitamu n'ababadde bawangudde obutereevu era babbiddwa butereevu ba returning officers n'ekkobaane lye bakoledde we balangirira oyita ku Tale Center. Ekkobaane lino ekyokwewuunya lyabaddemu abali mu buyinza n'ebibiina ebimu eby'opposition ebifo bingi mwabadde aba DF nga bawangudde ne gye balonze emirundi emingi wabaddewo ekkobaane lino lye tukyanoonyerezaako ne be lyaganyiddwa tuboogeddeko tubalambise bulungi bifo ebyenjawulo gye balangiridde abanuupu abawerako nga bavuganya n'aba DF naye nga waliwo enkolagana etali ya bulijjo tubadde tumanyi nti egenda mu maaso naye twagyebyo ku lunaku lw'okulonda. Enkolagana eyo etuwadde amaanyi okwongera okwetegereza obanga ddala abantu bano balongo oba ddala nga ya lunaku lumu yadde ya mukolo ogwo ogw'okulonda. Twagala okutegeeza bannayuganda bonna n'abawagizi ba DF nti olugendo lwaffe olw'ebyobufuzi si mukolo luwanvu, ebigendererwa byaffe bigazi, twali asobola biyimiriza kubanga wabaddewo akalulu bijja kusigala nga bigenda mu maaso. Era twagala okutegeeza bannayuganda bonna nti ng'ekibiina abagala kyegattako abatidde olwabyabaddewo ffe ng'abakulembeze baakyo tugenda genda mu maaso ne puroguramu yaffe ey'okugaziya n'okunyweza emirandira gy'ekibiina. Kibiina kito kya myezi 6 tumanyi olugendo lwaffe tujja dubeerako era nga tugenda kusiba essira ku nsonga 3 ez'enkyukakyuka mu ssemateeka mateeka g'ebyokulonda ate n'ensonga y'enkyukakyuka y'obukulembeze transition ate n'okuddingana kw'abannayuganda n'enkolagana eyannamaddala gye twayise reconciliation esimbiddwa mu ebyo ebibadde bikoleddwa emyaka mingi bannayuganda mulina ebikolobero ebyesa bannayuganda okuva buli muntu nga tulina munne ng'omulabe we. mu byonna akalulu akawedde sikajjaayo birubirwa by'Abannayuganda era ffe nga DF tukatwala nti katambulidde wabweru w'amateeka. Mwebale nnyo. Can you say one by one?
Thank you very much, Mr. President. A big applause from the Democratic Front. If there could be any other questions, anyway, the President is ready to answer one by one. And Mr. President, there could be other languages, but I think time is against us. I can see Nyankole Tutolo, Nyankole Tuchiga. Mr. Chairman, he wanted to answer in Rugubara. Time is against us for that. Members, let's take questions. Yes.
I'll just go straight to the questions. Honorable Matthias Nkugansamba, what does your loss in Yendo Mukungwe mean to your political career? That's an individual question. And since it's a story that that NBS has worked with you on, I think it's a continuing series of the Gang of Seven, a story you pretty much remember. You can see Honorable Mukako smiling to the same. So we want to know the fate of the group which is called the Massacre Group in the politics of Uganda and the politics of Uganda. And lastly, for long, the same group has largely been described by other politicians, including Norbert Mao and some members of the National Resistance Movement, to be the problem in the Uganda politics and Uganda. Do you agree with that? And what's next for the Gang of Seven? At least for now, there is one standing and remaining in Parliament. Many thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me ask, can I answer? Probably. Edward, oinali mungali ya segwanga ya nkoko. Okolera wa baguma.
Can
you take the third one?
You can take that.
I am Nasa Kayanja, I work with Radio Simba.
Yes, continue.
There is a general public concern regarding the UCC resolution to cut off the internet. After having confirmed the public that they're not going to cut off the internet. A lot of businesses have been lost. Many people have been put out of business. I don't know how to address this. Do you think there's an community effect about that?
Yes. Yes, sorry.
My name is President. So the president before you have public holiday, and Uganda is expecting a lot. However, as we speak now, this has been the worst period that Ugandans have experienced, the worst service delivery. The internet is off, mobile money is not working, bank services are all crap. These mobile vans, drones are moving around. Each time you're receiving a different number of people being killed and others tortured, as a party, what's your position on this kind of situation where actually people have refused even to come back to where they are now? amongst the youth, attention is just too high. What's your position on this kind of?
We take another one? We can take the last one in this segment, yes.
My name is Becca. I work in January this one. I have two questions. First, you say you want to challenge these elections. I am wondering which one of them, the individual elections or the presidential elections, where I understand you had no candidate, at least you don't pronounce any candidate. Number two, this is a big person. One of your former colleagues, I don't know if he's still your colleague, came to your constituency and said this constituency is empty. His own constituency is also empty now. So
he died? What happened?
Like he said, when he said he was empty, he said there was no empty here.
Who was that, sir?
So I'm wondering, what did you, when results came out and we had also failed, how did you feel that
That is good old debate about escalating conflict. Thank you, Akim, for your questions. I'll begin with a personal question. My participation in politics is never an event. You probably are just starting to follow me. Yeah, so you just be assured I'm around. And with the 5 years or 10 years, I have energy, I'm healthy, probably I'll be short. But as long as I'm alive, you rule me out at your own peril. I'm around, and fortunately, the person declared in Masaka also knows that actually is an accident of the connivance I talked about. He knows what happened. Probably when the storm comes down, interview him. Yeah, you'll understand. Or probably take a journey to Masaka. But I want to assure you, and the people like you who love me, that I'm around. Make no mistake. I'll continue doing what I know best. Even if I chose to take a divine sabbatical from elected space, I'll be doing what I know better, mobilize everyone, support others, bring through young people into the party, train them. That's the space I've occupied over the years. And that space is still available. Rest assured, I'll be in that space. And rest assured, you'll not get your camera off my space, because I'll be around and doing what I know best. Okay. So don't cry for me, like our Lord told to those who are crying for him, just cry for your nation. That an agenda can be considered, contrived and hacked to eject me in Parliament. I was not born in Parliament, but I've been influencing national affairs, even outside Parliament. So be assured I am around. Gang of Seven, yes. The beauty is that all of them are alive. All of them are alive. And those who believe that their influence has waned, probably things change, time change, and that gang still communicates, even when there are disagreements on issues and situations. I personally consider every one of them as my brother and sister. The Honorable Kasibante is with me here, unmoved. He still influences his community. I don't want to respond to Mao and what he feels about the Gang of Seven. Those are his views. I have never known Mao's views as serious, so I don't want to respond to him. Let him enjoy his false comfort. That's not my problem. Mami baguma impact. Eko wane no zandi yogeddeko. Okujja konga wade tunajja. bwe mba njogera mbeera kiriya nnyo simanyi kyesogeddeeko oba tunyimyemu mboozi ojja kunkyaza. Mwami Nasa Kayanja, internet cut off, invariably NASA. It's an act of sabotage. And I'm waiting for so many people to take government to court. You cannot hide under national security to cut off communication. In fact, there's every reason to country to be insecure when people are not communicating. I actually do not know how brains of some people in this government work. So when there's no communication, how do you ensure security? You know, so it's basically, it was part of the clear, well-woven, you know, program to make sure that Ugandans do not communicate for common good. And I know for a fact that those who conceived it knew what they were doing. They intended that when they are doing fraud, they are conducting their fraud, nobody is following and nobody compares notes to the other on the fraud. Little wonder then that they cut off internet and also falsified the VVR machines. It was all intentional, it's well choreographed. At least nobody's in shock. You can only be surprised. I think Mr. Tumsime was again speaking in the same issue. My brother from Salt, same issue. Yeah. I am aware that there are so many younger people that have been arrested in various places. And unfortunately, those who arrested them have not come out to declare that they have them. And that's also an act of criminality. It's a violation of their rights. At the DF, we have no choice but to disassociate ourselves with such acts of criminality by state agencies. And unfortunately, again, during the electoral process and week, there are so many state actors under the security yoke that were involved variously in arresting citizens without necessarily declaring reason for arrest, and they have never produced them in a court of law. I hope when they eventually produced, the courts will play their neutral role and ensure that justice prevails for these citizens who were out to exercise their right. There were those who were arrested at polling stations for demanding that things be done right because they were seeing fraud and they were demanding that the fraud stops, and they were arrested. We hope common sense will prevail. The tension in the country is various, and we know and see it. There's no amount of tension and intimidation. At least the little I know about the human race and the history of mankind. At some stage, people will resist the tension, and the humanity and its desire will prevail. So, people who are consumed with power and the absolute power that has corrupted their reasoning had better think twice about the possible repercussions out of this dark state of affairs we are in as a country. Bekabate, yes, are we challenging the entire electoral process? Certainly, our statement says we are doing wide-ranging consultations. We still have time. And the consultations are not an event. We are looking at the law and what it allows us to do. But also, we are listening. We are conducting listening sessions for our aggrieved candidates across the country. We have set up a legal team, and the legal team has this morning started the meeting. Aggrieved candidates with a view of ensuring that the party supports them to get justice where they feel aggrieved and shortchanged by the actual outcomes. So rest assured that once the legal team is convinced on what to go for and who, we will inform the country. Your question and that of Hakim are probably related. I contain people who are so keen about how we related as brothers in the Gang of Seven, and I don't never take that for granted. And I will tell you, if you're my brother, you're my brother. If you're my friend, you're my friend. So to my brother, the Honorable Mwanga, whatever happened to him is very sad. And I can never stand anywhere and celebrate his problems. Because he's a father, he has children, he has a wife, he has a family, he has a mother to take care of. It's so sad that whatever happened to his constituencies. So as a human being, I feel concerned. I don't know where that his situation will really end into, because I last learned that probably over 10 bodies fell in his mother's compound, and that's real terrible. I can only wish him the best, and probably is able to circumvent and overcome those challenges. They are beyond the political challenges. Some of them are now very personal, and I never go personal in my life. If I have a political issue with you, I deal with it politically. So that's how I behave. And you'll never change me. You've been around when some of these I consider my brothers are attacking me. You never heard me retaliate. Is it for lack of what to say? It's not for lack of what to say. Probably I am different. And I hope he overcomes the challenges and returns. When everybody faces challenges, probably all of you have reason to return to your sensibilities and realize that we live for each other. So that's my humble view of what Baker wanted to escalate. So I still consider him as a dear brother, and I will never wish him anything bad. Whether his constituency is now empty, yeah, so that's not a matter for me to determine. The people of Butambala did so, and I hope he lost it in a fair manner. That's it, because he's been fighting for fairness throughout his life. I can only pray that he lost fairly, and if he never lost fairly, hope he gets justice. That's my wish. Thank you.
To have a position on that.
On what?
Local government candidate.
No, okay. Mu bufunze mu Luganda ensonga ekwata ku nze ng'omuntu, ebyobufuzi sibiriimu nga mukolo, era sibiriimu kulondebwa na butalondebwa. Ebyobufuzi mbirimu okubanga eggwanga lino litambulira ku mulamu omutuufu. Ng'ogyeko abandabye olwaleero naye abangoberedde emyaka gyange gyonna mbaddemu nga seesimbyewo naye nga nnwanirira obwenkanya n'okuyambako abo okukwatirako abalwanira obwenkanya. Okukola ekyo kyetaaga kumala kwesimbawo. N'olwekyo abadde bansuubira nti ngenda kulitreatinga, nedda. Wendi nina obuvunaanyizibwa ng'omuntu eri ekibiina kyange, eri bannange benkulembera, naye n'eri eggwanga. Sirowooza nti obuvunaanyizibwa bwennyini eri eggwanga bukoma kubanga waddeyo omukolo gw'okulonda ogw'ekimpatiira. Ekyo nkakasa wendi, era nja okubaako byenkola naddala okuzimba ekibiina kino ekito, okuyambako abavubuka abaagala okuyingira mu byobufuzi, okubasomesa n'okubabuulira kyekyo okukola ekituufu, babe nga tebagenda mu byabufuzi ebyakiyita mu luggya ng'omukolo. Ensonga ekwata ku banywanyi bange bwe tuwangadde 7, ekirungi bonna balamu. Omu kyamututte bukya yamutaasiza yawonyeewo, oba yawonye mu bulungi oba mu bubi, ekyo kikye n'abantu be ne Katonda we. Ekya muganda wange Kivumbi Butambala alina emitawaana musaasira, kubanga akalulu kaggwa, naye obwa Sseruganda tebuvaawo. Waliwo ebintu ebitafa ng'oli muntu mugunjufu, obwa Sseruganda obwa nnyinoomu n'obuntu bulamu tebusobola kuvaako olw'ebyobufuzi, okuggyako nga obukulembeze bwakutuuba nga wabugendamu nga teweetegese. So muganda wange ate mukulu wange musabira ebizibu byalimu abiyitemu kimwe n'omukisa okuddamu okwetunulako netunule mu ndabirwamu. kiyambe n'okuddamu okuzimba obwa Sseruganda. Obwa Sseruganda tebufa era abooluganda bita ebikonaga nti byatika. Nze simulinaako busungu bwonna, mulinako kusaalirwa nti yalina omukisa okukola ekituufu n'atakikola. Naye bw'obanga okoze ensobi olumu n'otegera nakola nsobi, oba oli awo oddamu obwongo ne buzuukuka, waliwo abali bamuwadde kasumagizi bamusumagiza ne basumagiza ebirowoozo bye, andowooza bw'anaamala emitawaana gye najja kufuna omukisa okuddamu n'azuuka n'amanya nti yali mutulo atagenderedde. Ensonga ekwata ku by'okuggyako empuliziganya, okufaanako n'abatta obuuma obuya bwalina okulondesebwa, naye ng'okutta okwo bwali tebufudde busumagiza. N'abajjako internet bonna be bamu baali baagala kukuumira bannansi mu kizikiza ky'okumanya n'okuwuliziganya. Ekyokusaalirwa mu butawuliziganya omwo bintu bingi bibaddewo, omuli abantu okufiirwa ebyabwe, okufiirwa emirimu. Kansubire nti bannayuganda bangi baneekolamu obimu ne batwala gavumenti eno mu kkooti, waakiri kkooti neziba ku kikisalawo ku nkola eyo ey'obumenyi bw'amateeka. Ekyokwekweka mu byokwerinda by'eggwanga kya butaliimu, nze ndowooza nti ebyokwerinda bibeera mu matigga nnyo nga bannansi teboogera era tebawuliziganya. N'olwekyo ekyo ng'ekibiina ky'ebyobufuzi twakyogerako, tukyakyogerako, kya butaliimu, kyakudda mabega. Ebyo byakolebwanga mu mirembe gya Stone Age. Abantu bazimba space station mumujjako internet era nga mugamba nti eggwanga ligenda mu maaso, ne mulitwala mu middle income status, mulitwala mu Stone Age. So n'olwekyo ekyo kyali kya bujega era kya butaliimu. Mwebale nnyo. Omwogezi alina kyanjukiriza kankikooneko katono. Ndi ku lunaku lwokuna waliyo okulonda okwa gavumenti ez'ebitundu. Twagala kusaba bannakibiina ne bannayuganda bonna, nandibadde bino weebiri timubinyiigiramu. Omulabe wa Uganda ayagala munyiige neke kwetaba mu nsonga yonna ekwata kulonda. Bakandidati baffe abeesimbyeyo yaba D.F mugende mbawa obuwagizi. Gavana wa Wakiso waali mumulaba, Kyala Flavia, Meya w'e Lubaga waali, Gavana w'e Gomba waali, mwawa obuwagizi. E Masaka ewaffe Meya gyali Oweekitiibwa Nakumusana mumuwa obuwagizi. E Butambala Mukyala Faida Nakiboneka gyali mumuwa obuwagizi. N'awala wangi nnyo. E Padel tulinayo ssentebe wa disitulikiti. E Kampala nga D.F twawa omuloodi Erias Lukwago obuwagizi, yazitubusazangamu. Tulowooza nti ali mu kifaananyi kituufu, nga ddala akavuyo k'ebyobufuzi kana kagenda mu maaso. Keraako ku bantu nga ddala obuwongo busobola okukola, nga basobola okubaako kye bakola, eggwanga ne liba nga lisobola okuwuliza n'okugoberera. Ensi bwe neekwasibwa abadduka emisinde ne bayita ewaka mu Lukifo, tujja kuba n'akasambatu kaakamaanyi. Omuloodi bannakampala abakuumye, abayisizza mu biwonvu n'emitendera, abataasizza ebizagawanye, temumwerabira, muyinza okwejjusa. Mukama abankuumye.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We shall depart after singing the anthems. But before that, I wanted to just recognize a few figures that came in later. Honorable Winnie Nakandi, fresh from Nakawa. A victim of what Mr. President has spoken about. And Honorable Annette Nachanja, another fresher from Wakiso. Thank you very much. Oh, we have Honorable, the host himself, Honorable Robert Muchivi, fresh from here. This is Rubaga North constituency. They came in late, but you are most welcome. Honorable Mawanda, National Anthem, and Buganda Chitibwa.
Oh, Uganda,
God uphold you. our future in thy hands. United, free for liberty, together we always stand. Ondo mulunjo wechisa, otubere mukama, otubundukuleke mikisa gyo era bafe omukumenga.